Over 60% of most house payers, their income goes to rent. Do you know how it feels like not paying rent for a month? InvestFusion thinks like an investor. That ability to transform life is what gives you success. Time is our biggest resource.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. I know you just started a crazy company that's going to help tons of investors and agents all across the country. Jeff, I just kind of want to get into it. How did you get into real estate in the first place?
That's a very good question. I would say 25 years ago, I was driving in traffic. I had my own business. I used to be a guest host on CNBC Africa, analyzing global financial markets. So I was driving in traffic after leaving this TV station, and then I saw this book on traffic about real estate, how to make money, how to be a millionaire. I was curious, a young kid growing up driving in traffic, just going up. So I bought the book, and just reading through the pages, I could understand why real estate was by far the sure way to building wealth. And the data has proven it. Look at what we've seen from Forbes. It's shown that more millionaires are built in real estate than in any other industry combined. And again, it makes sense because among the human needs, housing is a critical factor of a human need. So whether we like it or not, housing is critical matrix. And again, when you look at renting, majority of income, over 60% of most house payers, their income goes to rent. And that lets me understand that this is a gap in the industry that if you want to grow serious wealth, you must think in the real estate space. And that's how I got into real estate.
That's awesome. And what was your life like before real estate investing?
So I was the guy you go to when it comes to analyzing global financial markets. I look at matrix, I look at GDP, I look at economics numbers, I look at where money is flowing, what flows money to what angle, where is it flowing from. I look at the markets. I was also a certified options trader. So I understand risk. I understand risk transference. So all of that guided my approach into the markets. And that's what evolved into what we do right now presently. Because life is all about mitigating risk. And so understanding because the economics drives the market. You want to understand what drives the entire the game plan of an investor. So that mindset, that risk transferring mindset, is what I've been doing on TV, analyzing global financial markets for a very period of time.
Awesome. And what does your real estate investing business look like today?
Very good, very good. So now I play the multifamily units and the commercial real estate space. Now we teach investors, don't just buy a house for the sake of I want to own a home, and then you're slapped with a lot of mortgage that you cannot pay. You have to be strategic. You have to think contrarian. One of the things we teach investors is simple. Start with the baseline: a duplex, a quadruplex, or a triplex. Now, if you cannot get your hands on those asset class, the next gameplay is get a single family unit with a basement. Why? Because you can mitigate your mortgage by renting out the basement. Of course, a well-structured basement. And then, because it gives you peace of mind. Do you know how it feels like just not paying rent for a month, just relaxing, and someone else covering your at least 80 or 70% of your mortgage? And that's what I do. So purely from the ground up, I'm heavy on the multifamily side of things and, of course, the commercial side of real estate itself. And that's what I've been playing.
Awesome. And I know you just started your new company. So what was the problem that you were trying to solve when starting your new business?
So like I said, my background is about mitigating risk. That direction is what drives what I'm doing. So my company, why did I start this company? Some years ago, I was trying to buy a duplex here in North Carolina. Now, what happened with like every real estate investor, the journey of a real estate investor is, let me use a simple analogy so that we can understand the point. Say you want to buy a Rolls Royce, yes? You go to the car dealership shop and you say, hey, this car is beautiful. You see the paint, the color, the tires is clean, everything is sweet. You know how it feels like, yeah? And they said, before you can test drive this vehicle, you got to pay a non-refundable deposit. Now, you don't know if there's an engine that functions in that vehicle. It's a Rolls Royce, yeah? You love the idea. And then you pay your non-refundable fee. Look and behold, you get into the vehicle, you crank the engine, and the thing does not start. You just lost your non-refundable deposit. That's the pain point of most buyers in the US. We all buying blindly. Every real estate investor until today are blind buyers. How do I mean? You go to a listing site, you go to the Zillows, the Craigslist, the LoopNet, the Realtors, or you go on the MLS listings. All you see is one, the price per square foot, the agent you have to call, and then what happens? You call your agent. You go and see the property, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 10 properties, because you're afraid, you don't even know what's going on. Everything you see is the description and what the seller told you. Now they tell you, okay, if you are interested in this property, to take it off the market, to go on contract, you will pay what they call a non-refundable due diligence fee. In a seller's market, the non-refundable due diligence fee can go as high as $3,500 to over $5,000. It's not refundable. That's number one. Number two, you call an inspector. The inspector, as of today, will cost you about $700 to go and inspect the property. Hold on. You pay also what they call an EMD, the earnest money deposit. That's another $5,000 out of your pocket. Then you pay an appraisal fee to go and appraise the property, because for the loan officers to give you the loan, the value of the property must not be above the appraised value. So it must make sense from a numbers point of view. So you are asked for $11,000. That's what happened to me. I saw this property. I and my agent went to see the property, and I paid over $11,000. Now, when we paid that money, I called an inspector. We went to inspect the property, and he came back with a report and says, do not buy this property. I said, why? He said, one, it has foundation issues. It has structural damage. It has electrical problems. It has mold and mildew under the crawl space. It has electrical wiring issues that you cannot resolve. And I said, I thought he was just lying. I never took his word seriously. So I called a general contractor to go into the property and go and check. This same gentleman came back and said, Jeff, do not buy this property unless you want to be in pains. I called the seller. I said, listen, I'm backing out of this deal. They said, no, we're not refunding your funds. Guess what? It took me to the point of getting a solicitor. The lawyer fees alone is over $325 an hour. These same people relisted this property without disclosing this material facts. Somebody else bought that property and is in line to suffer the pitfall I avoided. Yes, I lost $11,000. That pain point is what drove me to found InvestFusion. So InvestFusion was built for three major reasons. Number one, to protect the average investor the average real estate investor who wants to buy property, and remove that fear factor from their buying decisions. How do I mean? InvestFusion goes into any property anywhere in the US and identify, one, is there any foundation issues? Are there any structural damage? Are there any foggy windows? Those three items, we call them BTI, big ticket items. Then it flags for any electrical issues, the issues on mold and mildew in the crawl space. It flags all of those information and lets you know the buyer in 60 seconds while you are staying in your pajamas at home or drinking coffee like you're doing right now, and let you know if that property has any red flag you should be wary of and back off that deal before you spend thousands of dollars up front. That's one. Number two, it gives you the previous appraisal report. Now, why is that report powerful? Like I said before, there's no way on the planet you get your hands on the appraisal report until you pay an appraiser. The previous appraisal report lets you know what it was valued for. You, the buyer, can use that information to renegotiate the price with the seller or know the value. And then there's a gap between the date you see the report. You can now ask, has there been any home improvement done that justifies the new asking price? Why? Because your loan officers look at the current appraisal report to grant the loan given to the buyer. And the third reason is it's a marketplace connecting buyers that found deals, because we call it the deal score, the 60-second deal score. Once you find a deal score, the next thing is to find the agent or the loan officer that will grant you loan. And loan officers are excited because they've seen a deal which we are closing tomorrow with InvestFusion, and they are excited to fund buyers who are savvy, buyers who understand the risk mitigation process to find these deals in the market. So that's what got me into the creation of InvestFusion. It's the pain point. And trust me, I've done interviews with stakeholders, investors who have been burned several times. So until now, that blind investment is gone. InvestFusion blocks or mitigates that risk by putting a block to that loophole, because in real estate, That's a loophole most sellers are exploiting.
Want to get motivated sellers that nobody knows about? Introducing 10x TV. If you want to create credibility in your market, find deals that nobody else knows about, and crush your competition, you need to check into TV commercials. It is the new buzz in the real estate investing industry since we introduced it several years ago. I've been using TV commercials myself for the last 12 years and it's absolutely crushed it. So if you want to learn how to get on TV and to do something that little to no people are doing right now, go to claimmymarket.com. Again, that's claimmymarket.com. We usually only work with 2 investors per market, so if you're interested, reach out to us and book a call to see if you can claim your market before anybody else does. Now back to the show.
What do you think the most common misconception is about InvestFusion?
Well, people don't understand the power of, so AI is still new. So that's the misconception is, oh, how can AI do this? How is it possible it's doing this? Understand that we're in the world of technology. Imagine your life right now. Before now, we used to go to Google to do our searches, yes? Imagine how many times you go on Google right now. ChatGPT has solved almost all of that for you. InvestFusion thinks like an investor. It thinks for you. It doesn't not give you data. It interprets the data. It gives you suggestions. It tells you why it's giving you a recommendation. So that conception, the biggest misconception people will have is, oh, how's he able to do this? Is it possible? But guess what? We've validated that. The industry experts have validated the accuracy of the data. And that's why we brought in stakeholders. One, the property I'm closing tomorrow, by the time I put it on contract, I called an inspector. The inspector came to inspect the property and said, everything is in tip-top shape. So how do you find this? I said it was InvestFusion. Now, what he found was what InvestFusion corroborated. That means the accuracy of the data. Loan officers, when we send in an appraisal report to get the appraisal back, again, same thing validated by InvestFusion. So that misconception, that fear is gone. So that fear factor of, can AI do this? Absolutely. And that's why you see the investments from billionaires are investing heavily into AI. Why? Because it's the future. So 2 things can happen. It's either you want to remain buying blindly or get burned first, like I was burnt in the past, go lose over $11,000 and call, where's that Jeff guy? Let me go call Jeff this time around. Because that's what InvestFusion is doing. It's changing the game. It's changing how investors invest in real estate. This is a disruption in the real estate space. And we are pioneering this disruption with InvestFusion.
Is this something that's going to be more for like the onesie twosie buyer that buys maybe 1 or 2 properties a year? Or is this more for someone that's doing, 100, 150 deals a year, or anyone in the space?
For anyone in the space, anyone who's looking to find good deals, who is just tired of guessing. Because our tagline says, from deals to decisions. So if you're tired of guessing, if you're tired of the guess game, you're tired of buying blindly, if it's one property, because you want to buy a good deal at any point in time. If it's one deal, avoid losses, because we protect you. The first thing we do with InvestFusion is to protect your funds. That's the first goal. That's our primary goal. Protect your funds. Because if your funds is still in your pocket, the likelihood of you growing more is there than losing it. That's number 1. Number 2 is to now find you deals with built-in equity. The reason is simple. If you buy a property that the appraised value is higher than the asking price, you've seen a gap. That gap is called equity. When that gap is there, you can walk into the bank and say, give me XYZ because I have built-in equity. The next thing is cash flow. Cash flow can be done several ways. You can either expand the space, add in more rooms, get more cash flow is simple. There's various strategies you can deploy to get expansive cash flow. That's what InvestFusion gives to the buyer. So if you're buying 1, 2, 100, we've had the way we build InvestFusion. We built it in layers. Layers 1 is for those who are just starting out, the single family units and the multi-family players. This layer 2 is for the pros. The pros are the commercial players. Commercial property is the big boys game. The layer 3 is for the enterprise version, given to huge institutional firms with over 10 licenses. So the big firms that have a team of analysts can run their deals on investment, because it's your PI, it's your gatekeeper to the deal itself. Every investment coaches, every investment firm we've spoken with will tell them, keep your strategy, keep your method of teaching your teams. Keep that to yourself. Use InvestFusion to flag what is a red flag. It's like buying the car I mentioned at the outset. You want that vehicle to have an engine. If it doesn't have an engine, there's no point in the Rolls Royce, in the Bugatti. It doesn't matter. If there's no engine, there's no engine. So get that point done first. Mitigate your risk. Once you've mitigated your risk, the next level will now be to go into using your own method. Like I said, cash flow. This is how we do it. So you can expand your own strategy with your team. But the bottom line is, if you're buying 1, you're buying 2, you're buying 10, you're buying 100, the gatekeepers of preventing the guessing game is InvestFusion. And that's why every player in real estate, if you're serious though, if you're serious about building wealth in real estate, you absolutely need InvestFusion to be your gatekeeper.
When it comes to investors, I feel like there's a lot of mistakes that people make. What's the most common mistake that you see investors make that you think can be really easily avoided?
So that's a very, very good question. One of the biggest mistakes most investors do is they just fall in love with the property. They fall in love with the design, the aesthetics, how beautiful it looks outside. Like I said, you want to buy a car, you don't even know what's going on. So that's a huge misconception. And the way we built InvestFusion, is built with over 400 data points. When I say this, it's funny, but it's just the reality. I'm also a licensed real estate agent here in North Carolina. I have over 20 plus years industry experience in this industry. I would tell you this, even with your own human intelligence, there are limits to what you can do. You make mistakes. InvestFusion doesn't care about mistakes. It has no emotion attached to the property, because I'm emotional. I'm like, oh, I like how the design is. Let me buy this design. No, it goes in and says, these are the facts. It gives you its own suggestion. It's going to tell you why. If you do this, this is going to happen. So you know for a fact what you are getting your hands in. So most investors, they fall in love with what they see. And in most times, one of the complaints I've seen most investors ask is, Jeff, well, I don't have cash. What do I do next? How do I? And so the only funds they have saved, this is sad, but it's the reality. The only funds they have saved, if they go into the guessing game, guess what happens? That money is burnt. And then they just fall back into the renting game. That's one of the issues. Number 2 is the misconception of them thinking that, oh, renting is okay, it's convenient. Let me just stay in the comfort zone. No. Don't sit on your comfort zone. Why? Because it builds nothing for you. Renting builds nothing but builds your landlord's wealth. If you have followed the strategy I've deployed, don't just go and buy a house. That's the biggest mistake most investors make. You buy a house, you buy into an area that has huge HOA fees, you're just adding more and more expenses. Your mortgage, your PMI, your HO, everything builds up. That's not the game plan. Having a house alone is not the game plan. You have to find a way to begin to mitigate that and get cash flow from your property. So the barest minimum, a home with a basement, or a duplex, a triplex, or a quadruplex. That's the game plan. So in real estate, a lot of mistakes are made in real estate, but you have to understand that the guidance, the shortcut to wealth is now narrowed drastically. So that pain points that you can, because before now, it's impossible. There's no platform, there's no tool. There's no tool anywhere in the US that lets you know this. So before now, those pain points, you cannot avoid it. You can go and buy a deal today and then it has a foundation issues. There's nothing you can do. But until now, InvestFusion is your gatekeeper to preventing those losses.
That's awesome. When it comes to success and how you view it, how do you define success in your own life, and how do you strive for it every single day?
Success is a very important word to understand it, because it's dependent on the individual. How do you perceive it? For me, success is about fulfillment, adding value to human, adding value to people. Each time I pray, I say, I need to add more and more value. What am I doing? How am I changing the narrative? What am I doing to transform lives? That is success for me. This platform, I'm going to be very frank with you right now. When we were building the platform, it took us almost 2.5 years to train in InvestFusion, to understand everything I've learned, both on the street side, how we grew, because my street knowledge on real estate, I work with mentors that have guided me. We went from zero. We found the biggest mistake we made was the $5 million loss. So we built InvestFusion to avoid those mistakes. You're not going to make mistakes anymore, because it doesn't have emotional thinking. It's practical. It's going to tell you practically. So after that loss of $5 million, we begin to change our approach, and gradually we went to the first 100 million to over $800 million in real estate. I will tell you this: the money is good, but that ability to transform life is what gives you success. And for me, without InvestFusion, I would not be able to buy the deal I had to close tomorrow. As a matter of fact, we're having this call today. Tomorrow, I'm closing that deal. I will be live, showing investors. My loan officers will be there. This is the deal we found. And in less than 45 days, because it didn't take us time, we're not driving around to go see properties. We just went in, he found the property, the inspector validated the data, the loan officer validated the data, the appraiser validated the data, and that's it. So that fear has been removed. So that's what gives me happiness. So if I see investors using InvestFusion, giving us their feedback, that is success for me. Because the more lives we can change, the more investors that says, Jeff, you know what? Because of your tool, I've stopped making losses. For agents, we say, Jeff, you know what? Because of your tool, I have more buyers. I'm closing more deals. I'm not driving because time, I repeat, time is our biggest resource. You can drive 2 hours, 2 hours to 2 hours full to go see one property, and you're not even sure of buying because you don't know what the condition is. With InvestFusion, you can run 60 properties in your bedroom and pick one before leaving your home. And so for me, that ability to change lives, I want to see by the end of the next year, for example, see how many lives we've touched. How many investors have come and said, Jeff, I've used this tool, I've closed a deal because I'm the first person to try it. I'm closing a deal tomorrow, live. So I want investors to see that, okay, Jeff did it, I can, and it's simple. It's just if you can click the button, if I click go and search, you can do it with InvestFusion. That to me will be success.
That's awesome. What's the biggest challenge and change that you're seeing in real estate right now?
The biggest challenge was in fact, the video I released today, I was live on Saturday. The biggest challenge most investors will face is that access to funds. Most investors don't have capital. So they'll say, Jeff, well, it's all good and nice, but I don't have over 10,000 or 11,000 sitting down in the bank to go and use and start real estate. This is simple. They'll say, Jeff, my credit score is bad. I don't know what to do. I don't have anything. I just get paid $20, $40 per hour. What can I do? This is what we tell investors. Number one is we start with your credit. If your credit score is bad, if you have collections, you have something negative that you've not paid, the first thing we do is to work with our team. Within my team, we have experts that go into your credit file and look at the report and revamp everything you have there within a 3 to 6 months period. That's one. Once it's revamped, collections, everything that is there is negative, we'll begin to address that. Query that with the bureaus. Query all of that with CFPD. Once we query all of that, the next step is to form an LLC. You need to have an LLC in your name, even if it's not operational. Once you have an LLC, you must structure your LLC to qualify for funding. Banks like Chase Banks, the credit unions will give you funding to the tune of $50,000. But this is where it gets interesting. The reason why we want you to have your credit score or your credit report revamped is because the banks can give you 0% APR for 18 months. So you have 0% for 18 months period. You have enough wiggle room to do a lot of things. And again, like I said, you don't need $50,000 to buy your property. 10 grand, 15 grand, FHA financing. You can qualify for that to buy with 3.5% down to buy your property. And so when you have one, your credit is good, we push you to the 700, 750, 800 mark. You now have that ability to now use your LLC to qualify for funding. And the good news about LLC is this: you can stack that funding because the LLC is now qualified, backed by you with a good credit profile. And the third thing now is if you now have those two vehicles running, you can now begin to use InvestFusion to go and find the right deal, because you don't want to have these funds from the bank and then go on the wrong deal. How are you going to pay that money back? You want the right deal. And that's the biggest setback most investors are facing in real estate. And that gap, we've closed that loophole for them.
If you were to start from scratch today, your real estate business was gone, but you keep all the knowledge that you've learned over the years, what would you focus on first to rebuild?
If I keep all the knowledge I have, the first thing I would do, number one, is begin to understand the multifamily space. Because the first direction you need to know is get as much knowledge. If I have the knowledge, if I still retain my knowledge and I've lost everything, is to look at the markets and say, okay, now that there's the tool like InvestFusion, I want to run it across the board. I say, okay, what can you find me in my city, in my state that qualifies for X, Y, Z? Because before now, it's hard-paying training. It's a lot of training, it's a lot of studying, it's a lot of research, look at data, because all the traditional tools, All the traditional tools we have just gives you data. You have to interpret that data. So with technology right now, the interpretation is done for you. So right now, the biggest thing I want to do is one, how do I get funding? So if I have a bad score, if I have collections, I want to clean that out first. Once I clean that, so I now have a 3 to 6 months period to clean that off. Once I clean that, the next thing is to form an LLC. $50 for an LLC, just go on Google or go to your Secretary of State website. Just type form an LLC in my state. It's $50. Pay the $50, get the LLC, begin to structure. By structuring, I mean don't use your home address as your LLC address. Don't use the same phone number. Get a 1-800 number. There's so many sites will give you all of that. We have free training on School Community that shows them step by step what to do. So once I do all of that, my LLC is now qualified for funding. So within 0 months and 6 months period, I'll be in a position to gain access to that fund. Remember, I have the knowledge, I have the InvestFusion, I have the capital. That's it. And it's so important. Real estate is so exciting that once you get started, because of the way real estate is structured, the tax write-offs, the benefits, the 1031 exchange, you are forced to keep rinsing and repeating. So that ability to grow wealth faster, that's why I said it's a sure way, but you want to mitigate your risk. Don't go and buy a single home. Again, like I said before, because you're just paying mortgage. You're still like paying a rent. If you don't feel excited about it. But if your rent is almost gone by 50%, somebody is mitigating that payment for you, it's much easier for you, the investor, to say, okay, you know what? How do I expand my portfolio? So that's what I would do. Number one is the training is already done for you because you already have a tool that can reduce that learning curve. That learning curve has been reduced drastically. And so, you know what? That's what I would do if I was in anyone's shoes right now.
That's awesome. Where can people learn more about you? If someone's interested in InvestFusion, where can people go to check it out? And any last words that you have?
Absolutely. So right now, we are running what they call InvestFusion is not open to the general public. It's given by private access. By next month, we'll go live mainstream. So right now, if you want to get your hands on InvestFusion, this is what you can do. Go to investfusion.co, which is one word, InvestFusion, Fusion, invest, of course, .co. Once you go on the site, you will see join the waitlist. Hit on that button, put in your details. My team will get back to you by this week, Friday. By this week, Friday, we're giving access to a private team. So what we've done is we've combined all the biggest players in this industry, the big institutional firm that handles several billions of dollars on their portfolio in real estate. We've combined all the top real estate agents in the US. We've combined the top loan officers in the US. We've combined builders, contractors, appraisal, the guys that run the appraisal reports, the inspectors. We want them to go in to invest. They're doing that this week, Friday. So they are beta testing the platform and giving us their feedback. Once they do that and give us their feedback, we'll now go mainstream by next month. So right now, if you're watching this, the best thing you can do right now is go on investfusion.co and then go and join the waitlist, because that will give you early access to the team and see what we do with InvestFusion. And it's just exciting because in most times I just drive around the city. I see any property in the city that's listed for sale and just run through InvestFusion. And it gives me a deal score in just 60 seconds.
That's awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.